I'm not able to hear anything. Am I audible now?
Uh, Ma'am, is it audible now?
Yes, not only I am able to hear. So far, I was not able to hear.
Sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am. Actually, I started already, but because of some network issue, I'm sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am.
Yeah, you can start all over again. We're all ready to
Okay,
go.
ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Good evening and welcome to the fortnightly symposium of In Tandem Research Club of the Department of English, Queen Mary's College. I am Sumitra Loganathan, first MA English, and your compere for this delightful evening. This academic year, 2022 to 23, we have a theme based series titled The Prize Winning Story, and through today's session, we are going to explore the Pulitzer Prize winning texts and their context. The Nobel Prize is considered the Pulitzer Prize is an award for achievements in newspaper, magazine, online journalism, literature, and musical composition within the United States. It was established in 1917 by provisions in the will of Joseph Pulitzer, who had made his fortune as a newspaper publisher and is administered by Columbia University. Prizes are awarded annually in 21 categories. With this note, I welcome our chairperson, Mrs. Aparna, Department of English, Anna Adarsh College, Government, Chennai. I welcome the paper presenters, Mr. S.A. Vijaya, Ms. Lokkesh Meera. I extended my warm welcome to the faculty members, research scholar, and PG students who are present at this forum. I deem it an honor to introduce our chairperson. Aparna is a poet, writer, academic, and the lover of literature. Speck of a Soul was her first published anthology of poems in 2019. Her poems have also been published in several anthologies of repute. She co authored and published Painting Dreams, yet another anthology of poems in 2020. She was the editor of Metamorphosis, a book devoted to art and poetry. Asian Literary Society conferred Poet of the Year award in the year 2022. She received Poet of the Year award from Kyoto Publishing House in the year 2022. She was awarded the Best Poet Editor's Choice by Spectrum Awards in May 2021. Her poem Savior's Destiny was longlisted for IPS Annual Award 2020. Her latest collection is Snippets of the Soul. We are greatly blessed to have her amid us. Now I request to take over the proceedings.
Yeah, thank you for that lovely introduction, Sumitra. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
My privilege and pleasure to chair this fortnightly symposium conducted by Queen Mary's College in Tandem Research Club. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Maria Preeti Srinivasan, Head Department of English, Queen Mary's College, Srilata Ma'am, and the In Tandem team for organizing this knowledge sharing session, which provides a platform for the young students and the research scholars to explore different avenues in research. Ma'am's passion for literature goes understood by the action of this fortnightly paper presentation with wider topics for research. In Tandem provides a platform for the young students and researchers to have a constructive discourses and widen their academic knowledge where they are welcomed and included. Without much ado, we'll start today's session. To facilitate a learning environment, a platform is very essential. So here is a beautiful platform, and we have two vibrant young presenters with us today. And we have a lovely topic today. Winning an award is a special moment for everyone. So this session is entitled Pulitzer Prize Winning Stories. Winning an award is a special moment for the writer, and it benefits the readers too. Because when you're very confused, or you are in a situation like how to choose a book, you can choose a bestseller or award winning piece. Likewise, you are just exposed to so many new cultures, new stories of other countries and other cultures too. So, a book award is one important thing in the field of literature. And today we have Pulitzer Prize, the much celebrated prize in United States of America. I just introduce the first presenter of the day, Mr. S.A. Vijaya Balakumaran. He is a first PG student from L.N.Government College, Ponneri. He has a paper titled Tracing the Origin and Background of the Coveted Prize, the Pulitzer. So the stage is yours, Vijaya Balakumaran.
Ma'am, can I share my presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is my screen visible, ma'am?
Yes. Yes. It's visible.
Good evening to one and all present here. I'm Vijay Balakumar from L.N.Government College. I'm pursuing my first year master's in English literature. First of all, thank you, Queen Mary. Thank you, PG and Research Department of Queen Mary's College, for giving us this opportunity, giving me this opportunity to present this, give this presentation in front of all of you. I would like to thank the In Tandem team for inviting me, for giving me this opportunity. Before we start with the presentation, I would like to talk a few words about journalism, because the Pulitzer Prize was originally given for journalism. Journalism, in today's world, in the contemporary world, journalism is the most important subject, the most important thing in the contemporary world. The basic tenets of journalism, um, journalism's first obligation is to truth, and therefore the Pulitzer Prize is often awarded to those news organizations, journalists who uncover corruption and speak the truth. Now let us move on with the presentation. Before we understand the Pulitzer Prize, we have to understand uh, the person behind the Pulitzer Prize, that is Joseph Pulitzer. Let us first understand why the Pulitzer Prize was introduced in the first place. And for that, we have to look into the biography or the history of Joseph Pulitzer himself. Joseph Pulitzer was born to a wealthy family of Magyar Jewish origin in Mako, Hungary on April 10, 1847. At the age of 17, he enlisted to become a soldier in the Austrian Army, Napoleon's Foreign Legion for duty in Mexico, and the British Army for service in India. And the most important point here is that he was rejected. The reason, his weak eyesight and frail health. The reason I'm saying that this is the most important thing is because this would further bother him in the future. In Hamburg, Germany, and later he went on to become, and he joined the Lincoln Cavalry. And it suited him because there were Germans in the unit, and since he was from Hungary, he was fluent in Germany, and he was fluent in German and French. But Pulitzer spoke very little English. He later rectified this when he got a job as a librarian um, in a city's mercantile library, where he learned both English and the law. Now, a big turning point came in Pulitzer's life when he gave a commentary on a particular chess match between two editors of a leading German language daily, that is Westliche Post. and with that, he was given a job offer. In 1872, Pulitzer had become an enterprising journalist. He had become a reputed journalist and was offered a controlling interest in the paper, that is the Westliche Post, by the nearly bankrupt owners. At the age 25, Pulitzer became a publisher, and there followed a series of shrewd business deals from which he emerged in 1878 as the owner of the St. Louis Post Dispatch and a rising figure on the journalistic scene. In the background, we can see the building of St. Louis Post Dispatch. Now, James Wyman Barrett, the editor of the New York World, records in his biography that Pulitzer, Joseph Pulitzer, worked at his desk from the early morning until midnight or later, interesting himself in every detail of the paper. The reason I have included this quote is because this shows how much Pulitzer was interested in journalism and how much he wanted uh, for journalists to be without any fear. I wanted journalists to be bold. How journalism should be started with Pulitzer's work. Pulitzer splashed investigative articles, editorials. He was focusing on uh, dismantling governments by exposing corruption, wealthy tax dodgers, gamblers. This populist appeal was effective. Circulation mounted, and the paper prospered. Pulitzer would have been pleased to know that in the conduct of the Pulitzer Prize system, which he later established, more awards in journalism would go to exposure of corruption than to any other subject. Now, the when I first said that Pulitzer was rejected from the military because of his failing health and because of his health conditions and because of his failing eyesight. And now, after all these hard works, when he has established the post um, later on in his life, Pulitzer paid a price for his unsparingly rigorous work at his newspaper. His health was undermined, and with his eyes failing, Pulitzer and his wife set out in 1883 for New York to board a ship on a doctor ordered European vacation. But here's where there's a twist. Pulitzer never got on the boat. Pulitzer never got on for that vacation. Instead, he made a deal with Jay Gould, the financier, and negotiated the purchase of the New York World, which was in financial crisis. Putting aside his serious health concerns, Pulitzer immersed himself in its direction, bringing about what Barrett described as a one man revolution in the editorial policy, content, and format of the World newspaper. He employed some of the same techniques that had built up in the circulation of the Post Dispatch. He crusaded against public and private corruption, filled the news columns with spate of sensationalized features, made the first extensive use of illustrations and staged news stunts. In one of the most successful promotions, the World newspaper raised public subscriptions for the building of a pedestal at the entrance to the New York harbor so that the Statue of Liberty, which was stranded in France awaiting shipment, could be emplaced. Uh, Onto the right, we can see the World newspaper. Now, let us move ahead with the award in itself. Let us first look at its brief history. In late 19th century, Joseph Pulitzer was a prominent American news publisher, and this was
If you don't mind,
yes,
I
ma'am.
think your slides are not moving, Vijay.
Um,
Uh, or
is
is
it?
it stuck only for me? I don't know.
No, no,
Is it?
not moving, Vijay.
Okay, ma'am. Just give me a minute.
I was really eagerly looking
Uh,
forward to
even I
those.
guess something was wrong on my side.
Yes, ma'am. Give me a minute. Ma'am.
Yes, now it went off now.
Yes, ma'am. Stop presenting.
Can give us a quick run through your slides. We missed some
Yes.
pictures. I think you were referring to some buildings and all that.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Now it's yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Just move it from.
I'll give a quick run through, ma'am.
Yeah.
Um, yes. At age 25, Pulitzer became the owner of St. Louis Post Dispatch. St. Louis Post Dispatch was his first newspaper company that he owned. And he used this newspaper to further his journalistic ideas by splashing it with investigative articles. He exposed corruptions. He undermined government, and so that St. Louis Post-Dispatch became one of the most famous newspapers of the time. Later on, Joseph Pulitzer and His World was a biography written by James Wyman Barrett, the editor of the New York World, which was later named as the World newspaper. In his biography, um, Barrett says that Pulitzer worked at his desk from early morning until midnight or later, interesting himself in every detail of the paper. The reason I've quoted this is because this shows how much Pulitzer was interested in his newspaper, how much enthusiasm he had for journalism. Um, and later on, Pulitzer was was had a very bad health breakdown, had a very bad health, and Pulitzer paid a price for his unsparingly rigorous work at his newspaper. His health was undermined, his eyes failing. I previously said this when he first enlisted in the army. He was rejected because of his poor eyesight and his ill health, and this later on became a problem for him right when he started the Post newspaper. Uh, Later on in 1883, he was supposed to get on a ship to go on a European vacation, which was doctor ordered. But instead of getting going on to the vacation, he met with Jay Gould, the financier, and negotiated the purchase of the New York World, which was in financial straits. This was later renamed as the World by Pulitzer, and Barrett, the previous editor of the New York World, describes him as a one-man revolution in the editorial policy, content, and format of the World. He employed some of the same techniques he used uh, that had built up the circulation of the Post Dispatch. He crusaded against public and private corruption, filled the news columns with a spate of sensationalized features. And also, one of the most important thing about the World newspaper was that in one of the most successful promotions, the World newspaper raised public subscriptions for the building of a pedestal at the entrance to the New York harbor so that the Statue of Liberty, which is currently in Staten Island, which was standard in France at the time of its building, it was standard in France, and because of Pulitzer, he gained subscriptions to build a pedestal at the harbor so that it could be placed. Now let us move on into let us look at a brief history of the award itself. Now, at this point, Joseph Pulitzer has become one of the prominent news publishers in America. Pulitzer was the first to call for the training of journalists at the university level in a school of journalism. In his 1904 will, he made provision for the establishment of the Pulitzer Prizes as an incentive to excellence. Pulitzer specified solely 4 awards in journalism, 4 in letters and drama, 1 for education, and 5 traveling scholarships. The plan of award, uh, which has governed the prizes since the inception in 1917, has been revised frequently. An advisory board empowered by Pulitzer, later renamed the Pulitzer Prize Board, has increased the number of awards to 21 and introduced poetry, music, and photography as subjects. Since 1997, the Pulitzer Prize has seen several changes. On Pulitzer's 150th year in 1997, the Pulitzer Board made major changes, and some of them are: it took a significant step in recognition of the growing importance of work being done by newspapers in online journalism. Since online was becoming one of the most important things in the 90s, online journalism was also growing, and therefore the Pulitzer Prize Board included online journalism as a category. Beginning with the 1999, in 1999, the board sanctioned the submission by newspapers of online presentations as supplements to print exhibits in the public service category. The board left open the distinct possibility of further inclusions in the Pulitzer process of online journalism as the electronic medium developed. In 2006, the board allowed online content in all 14 of its journalism categories. In 2009, the competition was expanded to include online only news organizations. In 2011, The plan of award was revised to encourage more explicitly the entry of online and multimedia material, with the board seeking to honor the best work in whatever form is most effective. In 2012, the board adopted an all digital entry and judging system, replacing the historic reliance on submission of scrapbooks. And later on, there were several major changes made in the category of music in 1943, in 1998, in 2004, 2006, and 2007. Now, here are some of the categories of Pulitzer Prize. In journalism, there are public service. The categories are public service, breaking news reporting, investigative reporting, explanatory reporting, local reporting, national reporting, international reporting, feature writing, commentary, criticism, editorial writing, illustrated reporting and commentary, breaking news photography, feature photography, audio reporting. In letters, drama, and music, the categories are fiction, drama, history, biography, poetry, general nonfiction, and music. Later on, there were the special citations, which started in 1930 to present day. Uh, to, to further explain special citations, I would rather give a few examples. In 2021, the special citations, the Pulitzer Prize, cited Afghanistan journalism workers for their work uncovering the Taliban takeover, and also the Pulitzer Prize Board provided, along with the citation, a 100,000 grant to be administered by the committee to protect journalists for the emergency reliefs of such individuals and their families, awarded on August 27, 2021. And in 2021, Daniela Frazier was given a special citation for courageously recording the murder of George Floyd, which later on became a sensational news, and further protests were started against police brutality around the world, highlighting the crucial role of citizens in journalists' quest for truth and justice. As many journalism outlets shifted to online publishing, the Pulitzer Prize Board shifted its requirements for winners in the categories of newspaper, magazines, and other news organizations. In 2007, the board decided that online elements could be considered for all journalism categories except photography. The board also announced in 2007 that online only works were eligible for Pulitzer consideration. There are 22 Pulitzer Prize categories, and the winners of 21 of those categories are awarded a $15,000 and a certificate stating their accomplishment. In addition, the Pulitzer Prize for Public Service is awarded to a news organization or not to a single person, and the winning organization receives a gold medal in which one side their name is inscribed and the other the year it was awarded. uh, I have uh, I have gathered up a few points regarding submitting work for Pulitzer Prize consideration. It's a very simple process wherein the author or the person submitting the work has to create an account in the website and press and submit the work online. But then to submit a work for Pulitzer Prize consideration, there are strict guidelines. One of those main guidelines is to strict to highest journalistic principles, meaning it's key that work is honest, transparent, and speaks as truthfully as possible. Uh, Later on, we have the 2022 Pulitzer Prizes. Let us look at who won the Pulitzer Prizes in 2022. In the category of public service, the winner was Washington Post's. Washington Post received a gold medal, the Pulitzer Prize medal, for its work. The reason it won the public service medal for was for covering the assault on Washington on January 6, 2021. Next up, we have in the category of fiction, the Netanyahus, an account of a minor and ultimately even negligible episode in the history of a very famous family by Joshua Cohen, which was published by New York Review Books. In the general nonfiction category, the winner was Invisible Child, Poverty, Survival, and Hope in an American City by Andrea Elliott, which was published by Random House. In the category of poetry, Frank, Sonnets by Dionysius, which was published by Grey Wolf Press. And finally, the special awards and citations. The special awards and citations was given to the journalists of Ukraine, and we know the reason. The Pulitzer Board awarded a special citation to the journalists of Ukraine for their courage, endurance, and commitment to truthful reporting during Vladimir Putin's ruthless invasion of the country and his propaganda war in Russia. Despite bombardment, abductions, occupation, and even deaths in their ranks, they have persisted in their efforts to provide an accurate picture of a terrible reality, drawing honor to Ukraine and to journalists around the world. And to end my presentation, I would like to quote Joseph Pulitzer. Joseph Pulitzer said, "Our republic and its press will rise or fall together." Pulitzer wrote, "An able, disinterested, public spirited press with trained intelligence to know the right and the courage to do it can preserve that public virtue, without which popular government is a sham and a mockery. A cynical, mercenary, demagogic press will produce in time a people as base as itself. The power to mold the future of the Republic will be in the hands of the journalists of future generations." Thank you.
That was a detailed and in-depth presentation, Vijaya Bala.
Thank you.
Good. So you have given a very beautiful presentation right from the biography of Pulitzer and the categories, and even the adaptability of the Pulitzer Prize. We know without adaptability, anything dies off. Even sapiens are still living in this world because we are adaptable. We are adapting to the situations. So there is adaptability as they have included online journals. That is one success of Pulitzer till date, I guess. And you have just quoted even the 2022 Pulitzer Prizes. It's done till date. Very good. The floor is open for questions. Anyone can just unmute yourself and ask questions to the president. Any question? Okay. Meanwhile, if anybody wants to ask, I'll just ask you a question. You just quoted that initially he was rejected from army service, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that rejection was a reason that he constituted such a big prize for Pulitzer?
Yes, ma'am. Possibly, yes.
Okay.
His rejection was, in a way, it was one of the most important points in his life. Uh, it further shows that Pulitzer is not very friendly with rejection. He opposes rejection in a way. And therefore, he went on to become one of the most uh, competent journalists of the time.
And why literary award is important? What role it has to play in the field of literature as well?
Um, there are, off the bat, I can think of 3 points. There are authors gain recognition, first of all. Authors are given the recognition they deserve by, be it the Booker Prize, be it the Pulitzer Prize, or the Nobel Prize for Literature. The authors, they gain recognition and their work. And moreover, they are given cash awards. Some awards come with a cash award. For example, the Pulitzer comes with a $15,000 cash prize, and therefore it supports the authors. Um, and next up, the publishing houses, the publishers, they are given recognition. And also for the readers, it gives us a collection of books that are good for us to select some of the good works that have been done.
What if the award is given posthumously?
It still it still helps the readers. It helps the family of the author. Um, the author, he gains. The thing about authors is that they do not they do not create a work for recognition in the first place. They do it because they want to do it. But in spite of that, they still gain recognition. Their works are the most important thing for an author, and since they gain recognition, it's still good even if it's given posthumously.
Oh,
May I ask a question?
yes. Yes.
Uh, Vijay, we've been doing, several awards, Gyanpeeth, Booker, and all that. And for every award, one of the things that came up was the jury.
Mm.
How is it decided? What are the core values? And who is the jury? Who comprises the jury? Could you share something about that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. For example, in the jury should be in ideally the jury should be people who have um, experience in the subject matter. For example, for literary awards, it should be authors, researchers, um, research specialists, good authors, people who have done really good research papers. So these people should be the one who have to be the jury in these papers. In case of Pulitzer, it is comprised entirely of intellectual people, uh, not just uh, not just rich people. Rather, it's filled with people who have knowledge about the subject. Even Pulitzer's one of Pulitzer's familial relation has done his son. Pulitzer's son was also a part of the board members. He was a jury himself. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. So they do have a committee, right?
Yes, ma'am.
They
They
have
do.
a Pulitzer Prize
Yes,
committee.
ma'am.
Any other? If you have questions, kindly unmute and you can post. Okay. Okay, I guess no one has a question. Okay, thank you, Vijaya Balakumaran. That was a good presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Go move to the next presenter today. So we'll have the second presenter on board today. It's Miss Lokkesh Meera, who is doing her master's second year in University of Madras. So we have seen that we have just traced the history, and we have just had enough details about the Pulitzer Prize. Now we'll just take a Pulitzer one fiction. We just go on to the fiction category. Pulitzer meaning stories is our topic actually. So she has chosen a Pulitzer winning novel, and her title goes this way: First African American Women's Fiction Bagging Pulitzer Prize, Alice Walker's Color Purple. Lokkesh Meera, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here, ma'am.
Okay, let's stay.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening to all the professors, scholars, and student friends online. Kindly let me to begin my presentation. In this happy evening, I'm going to present about the first African American women fiction bagging Pulitzer Prize, as it's Alice Walker's Color Purple. Uh, Being a literature student, we all know Alice Walker. Alice Malzenier Walker, born 1944, is a great American novelist, short story writer, and a poet. She's a well-known person for portraying colored people's life through literature. Instead of regular details in biography, I would like to say an interesting incident happened in Alice's life which made her a great writer. 8-year-old Alice was accidentally injured by a shotgun and blinded one eye. Her mother gave her a new typewriter instead of pushing her to learn the regular household chores. This made Alice to reach heights. The Color Purple is an epistolary novel portraying the growth and self-realization of an African American woman in early 1900s at Town, Georgia. Brushing upon epistolary novels are the fictions written as letters. These are great choice while using first-person point of view. This allows the readers to attach emotionally with the novel. Next comes the style of the novel. The color purple is of very short chapters written as letters to God. All the sufferings and pain of Sally, the protagonist of the novel, are explained in a short and powerful way. For example, in this slide, I have attached a small letter from the novel through which we can understand the style Sally writes. The words get, crying, about, killed are misspelled. Walker presents Sally's language in a very rustic way to show that she is not well educated. Now, let us get into the plot. Sally's mother is shown sick and soon she dies. Sally is a 14-year-old African American girl living in Georgia, early 1900s, as I already said. She writes letters to God because her father Alfonso abuses her often. Alfonso impregnated Sally twice, which resulted in a birth of girl and a boy. Alfonso took the child with him, and Sally believes that Alfonso killed them. Sally and her younger sister Nettie learns that a man identified as Mr. Dash wants to marry Nettie. This person, Mr. Dash, is not identified with any name here. Sally is not beautiful like Nettie, so Alfonso wants to get rid of her soon. So he made Mr. Dash to marry Sally. Mr. Dash is a widower and he just needs someone to care for his home and children. That's it, nothing more than. Mr. Dash and children abuses Sally often. Now, just the person changes and not the abuse. Abuse switched over to Nettie now. Alfonso often abuses Nettie. Nettie escaped to Sally's home and here Mr. Dash tries to abuse her. Nettie is forced to leave and she promises letters to write letters. Next comes Harpo. Harpo is Mr. Dash's son. Harpo falls in love with Sophia and they're having 5 children. After hearing Mr. Dash's advice, Harpo tries to control his wife Sophia, but he fails in it as Sophia is more powerful and strong physically. Sally advises him not to dominate Sophia, but Harpo will never hear her advice and he continues to dominate Sophia. Frustrated by Harpo's behavior, Sophia moves out, taking the children with her. Here enters the most important character in this novel, Shag Avery. Shag is Mr. Dash's mistress. On coming to the town, Shag falls ill and Sally helps in taking care of her. Initially, Shag was very rude to Sally, but later they become very close friends. As the novel goes on, Sally fell in love with Shag. Shag also finds that Sally is abused when she is not in home. So she decides to stay with Sally. Sophia returns to fight with Squeak. Squeak is Mr. Harpo's new girlfriend. In between, Mayor's wife wants Sophia to be her servant. As Sophia refuses, Mayor slaps Sophia, and physically strong Sophia immediately slaps the mayor, and it sentences her to be in prison for the next 12 years. Shag also had a boyfriend named Jermaine. After Shag and Sally falls in relationship, Shag reveals the letters from Nettie, which Mr. Dash has been hiding for very long years. The letters say that Nettie is with a missionary couple, Samuel and Corinne. This couple lived with their adopted children, Adam and Olivia. As the children resemble Nettie, Corinne suspects there must be a relationship between Nettie and Samuel. After this incident, Nettie learned Alfonso is actually their stepfather. Alfonso exploited the situation to control the mother's sickness, and his motto is only to grab the wealth. Nettie confesses to Samuel and Corinne that she is the children's biological aunt. That is, these 2 kids of Samuel and Corinne are the actual kids of Alfonso and Sally. After the death of Corinne, Samuel marries Nettie. Alfonso dies and all the property are now Sally's. So Sally decides to move back to Georgia. Shag also returns to Sally, ending her relationship with Jermaine. Nettie, Samuel, children, and all arrive at Sally's house. Nettie and Sally reunite after very long years. This is the wonderful plot of the novel Color Purple. Um, Next, let us discuss about the theme so that we can clearly understand its value. Here, first come is spirituality. Shug is the person who seeded the spirituality in Sally. Spirituality is the actual battery which helped Sally to discover herself. As the novel deals with the sufferings of colored people in a white society, racism is the most notable theme here. Also, the gender roles. The early 20th century is the period where men are considered superior and women are dominated often. The color purple says a lot about rape, incest, and forced unmedicated labor in the patriarchal society. The whole novel is actually the journey of self discovery. Sally is shown as a weak and submissive in the beginning. Later, Shug and herself helped in discovering the real Sally. By the end of the novel, Sally confidently owns her own business. She turns out to be a great seamstress. The next important thing to take note here is feminism. Feminism is a social theory based on the life and everyday happenings of Black women. This term was coined by Alice Walker in the year 1982 in her Womanist prose named "In Search of Our Mother's Garden." Sally is portrayed as lesbian here. All the previous incidents happened in her life, changed her point of view with a relationship with men. Past life, it often influences her it influenced her to fall in love with the same gender. Shug once questioned Sally that if she takes time to notice the little things that God shows us. The actual title comes from here. Shug is the eye opener of Sally, as I already told. Though Shug is the mistress of Sally's husband, they both share a very beautiful bond. It pisses God off if you walk by the color purple in a field somewhere and don't notice it, says Shug. Shug is the person to invoke the spirituality in Sally, which helped to discover herself. This novel is a Pulitzer Prize winning novel, as already told. The color purple movingly depicts the growing up and the self realization of Sally. Um, Women growing in a normal atmosphere can reach heights, but if a oppressed woman reaches heights, it's often appreciated very great. This novel is also addressing the gender equality. On April 18, 1983, Alice Walker becomes the first African American woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for fiction. It's also praised for its powerful cultural touchstone of the modern American literature. Till today, though years passed, we can easily connect the concepts of the novel with the contemporary society. Many themes in this novel suits the contemporary society. LGBTQ theory, male chauvinism, patriarchy, etc. Many can be easily connected, especially to our Indian society. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lokkesh Meera. Of course, book. So first, let me ask you a few questions. Ma'am, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Lokkesh Meera, what do you think makes that work of uh, Alice Walker worthy of a prize like Pulitzer? What you had done is just given an account of the entire work, right? The concepts, etc. But then we are dealing with what is called the price winning story. Can you please elaborate a little on why you thought of choosing this book and why does it deserve a prize like that?
Lokkesh Meera, you can
Yes,
speak.
ma'am. My camera is actually switched on, but I don't know why it's not visible at the other end. Yes, ma'am. This novel deals with the many things, even that we face very hard till now. Alice Walker has expressed it in the very early 1980s itself. So it deserves the Pulitzer Award, ma'am.
Okay. So you think that because she dealt with all of this very early itself, right? And then,
Not only early, ma'am. While
mm,
reading, we can feel it, ma'am. We can feel it. But that what the success of the writer lies in, right? Actually, many readers crave for it. Though there are many, um, though many people don't want this book to come out, it successfully reached everywhere, ma'am.
right. I know we when we were youngsters, we read this book, right? We did when we were doing MA, not MA. It was not allowed there. I think it was MPhil, right? We had to. We went on to read this book, though it was not in the syllabus. It was at that time. This was a rage. So I mean, do all those? I'm still wondering whether all those things that she referred to in her work are they? I mean, was she the first one to talk about it, or did she receive the prize because she was the first one to talk about it, or she did it better than all the others who were at that time writing on the same?
From my
That
point
was
of
it.
view, the way she conveyed made it to the Pulitzer, ma'am.
Okay. Hmm. Okay. I think she's got that there. Yes, the presentation should have had a very good focus, right? That is what I wanted to just tell you. And then about uh, the the overall view that Vijay Balakumar gave was very exhaustive, and it was very interestingly presented. I would like to say that to Vijay Balakumar,
Thank you,
right?
ma'am.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Srilata Madam, where she could have worked on what makes it a prize-winning text. That focus should have come in, Lokkesh Meera. And
Yes,
yeah, so you can take this as your feedback and
yes,
work on your paper.
yes, ma'am.
Uh, Lokesh Mera, it's like it is banned. You also told that it is banned.
Yeah.
Ma'am also told
Mm.
censorship and celebration in this novel. What is your view about?
Yes, ma'am. Right after the Pulitzer Award, people all over the world show very interest to read this book. Due to its detailed sexual descriptions, violences, and abuses, it's banned in many schools since 1984 itself, right after the year of winning Pulitzer. This is actually really a very touching novel. Some people nowadays say, and some even in some places there are protests regarding sex education for students, saying that they need to know what is the happiness and what is abuse. Instead of having all those separate classes, novels like Color Purple, easily teaches the student what is what. So, from my side, this novel should not be banned. Actually, it should be celebrated, ma'am.
Okay.
Mani Meghale, Madam of QMC, hope you don't mind, I'm putting you on the spot. You have worked on Color Purple and you know the text in a lot more depth than I do. So, would you like to have any thing that would any comments that would be of help to Lokkesh Meera? I think yes. Yeah, so we can continue, Aparna, Madam. You can continue.
Ma'am is not there.
No, she's. I think she's come on.
Maybe she's speaking without unmuting, so we
Yeah,
don't know.
unmute. She has to unmute.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's okay. We can just get on with the session.
Ma'am, RS prescribed in PG, ma'am, while we're doing PG, prescribed.
Okay.
Style was very different. There are too many things which was for the first time. The style was which was very different, and I it was more open, and since it had like element to it, whenever you feel connected to her, you feel passionate about it in that group. I guess the reason for this success.
Excuse me. I think somebody has to stop presenting. I think Lokkesh Meera has not stopped. So I can't. We can't hear Aparna.
Yeah,
Ah,
ma'am, can you hear me now?
yes, yes.
There were a lot of things were presented for the first time. I said the style, the language, the content, and the way it was presented, and the autobiographical elements in the novel. Like when you feel close to a subject, when you understand experience of the subject, it reflects in your work. So all these elements were very important in contributing to the success of the novel. I guess maybe to Lokesh, I just wanted to.
No, when it first came out naturally in India, it would have been banned whether you liked it or not. There was a time when people like what even Patrick White, because he was gay, there was a talk of banning. All that there was in those days, but then I think as time went on, everything has changed. Okay, today I think there is no more. Sing, and in Indian universities also have taken for us. I think even Lawrence was banned. D.H. Lawrence was also, was supposed to be a hot character, not to be in the MA. It used to be sneakily. Some of them used to read Lady Chatterley's Lover, right? When only Sons and Lovers was prescribed, and even that they wouldn't elaborate. So, of course, today we talk about many of those. Perhaps she was the first one to write. I don't know. Haven't researched much on the novel. Just that I know the what it is about. But maybe she was the first to write about all this touch on lesbianism and all the
Yes.
other banned so-called banned topics, and giving womanism its due place. So I think Pulitzer always gave. I think was path breaking. Pulitzer Prize was a little path breaking, and so I think they chose this.
And you have to be a citizen of America also.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think Balakumaran missed it, I guess. Okay. So we had a very lovely session, and
No, but he did mention that it was awarded to people in.
okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, actually, it's not just for American people. It is actually any author around the world. If they have published something in America, any American publishing house, they'll be awarded.
Okay.
Published.
Yeah. It should be published in America.
Oh. Okay. Any other questions? Shall we wind up then?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll hand over the session to the
Yes.
ceremony.
To coordinator.
Is it audible, ma'am? I thank our principal, Dr. Uma Maheshwari, for
Yes.
her constant support. Thanking our chairperson, Mrs. Aparna ma'am, for being with us. I thank our head of the department, Dr. Maria Preeti Srinivasan ma'am, for her presence and contribution to our end. Tandem Research Club. Sincere thanks to our faculty members and others for being a part of today's In Tandem. Have a great weekend.
Sumitra, you can announce even the next In Tandem meet date and the topic.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. And yes, Urmila ma'am says informative presentations. Yes, congratulations to both presenters. But before others sign out, just Nancy, can you announce the date of the next In Tandem and the topic?
One second, ma'am.
Yeah, just give her that information. So it's the next Friday, and we will be continuing on the Pulitzer Prize novels. So we will be discussing more award-winning story fiction. Thank you, thank you. Yes, thank you all. We'll call it a day. Thank you, Aparna. Thank
Welcome.
you. Yeah, it was so nice and supportive of you to come and join us
The
this
pleasure
evening
is here.
at short notice. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Srilata, as
Thank you.
always.
Thank you.
Nancy, thank you, Ma. Thank you, Sumitra. Thank you, Lokkesh and Vijay. Great papers, both of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So keep in touch with us and bring more of your friends.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
You'll get your e-certificates if you give the details to Nancy.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.